Let me say thank you. Good afternoon, marchers. Thank you for having me. And it is an honor to be standing with you here today for life. We are proud to march with you. And yes, we will be back next year. The excitement, the passion, the unwavering conviction that every single person here on the National Mall clearly feels. It is deeply moving to me and means more to President Trump and I than I could possibly say. For over a half century, this march has united tens of thousands of Americans from all walks of life to rally for the cause of life in our nation. It is the single largest gathering in the world to celebrate our movement, the victories we've fought so hard for, and yes, the victories yet to come. And I want to personally welcome all of you who have traveled from far and wide to our nation's capital. Thank you for your dedication, and it is an incredible crowd, and it's great to see you today. You know, on Monday, we were forced to move all of the inauguration events indoors because of the bitter cold, and it was cold. But you guys, and it's cold today, here you are outside in an especially frigid January. And I don't think I've ever seen such a joyful crowd out here, particularly during this time of year. Now, as you all know, the event theme this year is life, why we march. And there are obvious answers to the implicit question it poses. We march to protect the unborn. We march to proclaim and live out the sacred truth that every single child is a miracle and a gift from God. Now, each time Usha and I welcomed our own children into the world, we saw firsthand the indescribable beauty of new life, and yes, as you can see, sometimes the behavioral challenges that we had on Monday, but they were good. They were good. And watching all three of our feeling that awe at a newborn child, it is our responsibility to cherish and to protect it. But thinking about the question of why we march, there are also some subtler but equally more important answers to that question that I want to reflect on today. Now, the task of our movement is to protect innocent life. It's to defend the unborn, and it's also to be pro-family and pro-life in the fullest sense of that word possible. Now, across my own lifetime, I can't tell you the number of friends and other acquaintances I've had who, facing a pregnancy or the prospect of one, react not with joy but with concern. They wonder, how can they afford it? What will it mean for their education, their career, their relationship, or their family? And I know how many of you in this crowd have devoted immeasurable time and resources to help answer those questions and to lend a hand to young people facing a moment of desperation. But by and large, our society, our country, has not yet stepped up in the way you have. And our government certainly has failed in that important responsibility. We failed a generation not only by permitting a culture of abortion on demand, but also by neglecting to help young parents achieve the ingredients they need to live a happy and meaningful life. A culture of radical individualism took root, one where the responsibilities and joys of family life were seen as obstacles to overcome, not as personal fulfillment or personal blessings. Our society has failed to recognize the obligation that one generation has to another is a core part of living in a society to begin with. So let me say very simply, I want more babies in the United States of America. I want more happy children in our country. And I want beautiful young men and women who are eager to welcome them into the world and eager to raise them. And it is the task of our government to make it easier for young moms and dads to afford to have kids, to bring them into the world, and to welcome them as the blessings that we know they are here at the March for Life. Now, it should be easier to raise a family, easier to find a good job, easier to build a home, to raise that family in, easier to save up and purchase a good stroller, a crib for a nursery. We need a culture that celebrates life at all stages, one that recognizes and truly believes that the benchmark of national success is not our GDP number or our stock market, but whether people feel that they can raise thriving and healthy families in our country. And that brings me back to where we stand today. Earlier this week, President Donald J. Trump stood in the Capitol Rotunda and took the oath of office, becoming not just the 45th, but now the 47th President of the United States, and I know all of you helped. With the inauguration on Monday, our country faces the return of the most pro-family, most pro-life American president of our lifetimes. Now, this is the man who delivered on his promise of ending Roe, giving us a monumental, earth-shattering decision in Dobbs. The man who appointed hundreds of pro-life judges dedicated to defending the constitutional liberties of all Americans. And the man who supported pro-family policies like doubling the child tax credit, which happened during his first administration and which we're going to do so much more on in the second administration. Now he's back, and we're going to do it again. Now, yesterday, President Trump issued a strong endorsement of the Born Alive Abortion Act, ensuring that those babies who survived botched abortions enjoy the equal protection under law, which is the obligation of every citizen to enjoy in this country. With his return to office, no longer will the federal government direct FBI raids on the homes of people like Mark Houck and other Catholic and Christian activists who are fighting for the unborn every single day. And no longer will our government throw pro-life protesters and activists, elderly, grandparents, or anybody else in prison. It stopped on Monday, and we're not going to let it come back to this country. Instead, and I know you all saw the news, the 47th president has already issued pardons to those unjustly imprisoned. And I want to be clear that this administration stands by you, we stand with you, and most importantly, we stand with the most vulnerable and the basic principle that people exercising the right to protest on behalf of the most vulnerable should never have the government go after them ever again. Now, the crowd assembled here in this incredible national mall provides an extraordinary example for our nation. You donate to diaper banks, you help find housing for those in need, you help fund the crisis pregnancy centers that give help to young women and young men in a time of crisis. You guys are the beating heart of the pro-life movement, and you've saved many lives already, and you're going to save more again. You being here this very March is a reminder of the incredible strength and unity of the pro-life movement. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for marching here today. And most importantly, in your works, you remind us that the March for Life is not just a single event that happens on a frigid January day. The March for Life is the work of the pro-life movement every single day from this point forward. Now, it is a lifelong call to action, a moment in time, but every single day that you guys do what you do, from supporting young moms and dads, to fighting for the unborn, to working with our legislatures at the state and federal level, you make it possible for us to stand here and say that America is fundamentally a pro-baby, a pro-life, and a pro-family country. Now, I hesitate to give you all advice because I can see there are young and old people who have been in the pro-life movement, some of you for longer than I've even been alive, and I'm grateful to you. But if I could offer one piece of advice, it's a piece of advice born out of my own experience. There was a point when I would get frustrated with people who didn't see what we saw. I would get frustrated that people could look at a picture of a baby on an ultrasound and see not a human being, but just a clump of cells. But one of the things that being a father has taught me, and one of the things that being in politics has taught me over the last couple of years, is that it is a blessing to know the truth, and the truth is that unborn life is worthy of protection. So please go forth, not with frustration, but with joy. We are joyful to March for Life. We are joyful to know that that picture on an ultrasound, that is a picture of a baby with hopes and dreams and potential to come. It is a joy and a blessing to fight for the unborn, to work for the unborn, and to march for life. God bless you all, and thank you for having me. It's an honor to be with you.
You know, I kind of feel like we have a lot of momentum. So there's this issue that the president has introduced, which I'm supportive of, to say the Constitution doesn't give birthright citizenship to people that are here illegally. I think that's the decision of the Constitution. But it's interesting, not everyone likes that. And so the New York Times had a hit piece going against this. And here was their headline: "Undocumented women ask, will my unborn child be a citizen?" So the New York Times is admitting it's not just a clump of cells. Let's welcome the New York Times to the pro-life movement. Wow. Here is what you should be asking your elected officials to do on the issue of the sanctity of life. Show courage in defense of the unborn. That's what we need from the people that we elect to the office. The sanctity of life does not depend on poll results. It doesn't depend on which way the wind is blowing. It's an enduring truth, and it represents the foundation of our society, which in our original founding document, which we will celebrate next year, the Declaration of Independence, declared that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, beginning with the right to life itself. And I remember when Dobbs came down, it was a big victory for the pro-life movement, but a lot of people didn't necessarily know, what were you going to do? What was the left going to do? There were all these things going, and what the left did is they poured hundreds of millions of dollars into these ballot initiatives. And in 2022, they swept the country. I think they won every single ballot initiative in favor of many times abortion on demand until birth. So we then in 2024 cycle, we were facing in Florida one of these initiatives in our state, and it was very deceptively on the ballot. The media was behind them 100%. Now this would have been the most radical amendment in the nation. It would have led to 40,000 abortions in Florida every single year and would have made Florida the epicenter for abortion tourism because we're in the Southeast, which is the most pro-life part of the country. Yeah. So the stakes were very high here. Now, most elected officials, they'll say, look, what's on the ballot is not their issue. Like, people can decide, and they wash their hands of it, and they walk away. But you know, I remember a great man once said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So we were not just going to sit around in Florida and do nothing. We had a responsibility to lead the charge and to do something that most people said was impossible: defeat a pro-abortion ballot measure in a state who, quite frankly, does not necessarily have overwhelming pro-life sentiment. And so this was very difficult because what the pro-abortion side does, they don't tell the truth. They rely on a blizzard of lies to try to be able to enact these things. So if you turned on TV in Florida last fall, you were told that Florida's heartbeat bill somehow didn't allow pregnant women to get health care when they had a miscarriage, or all these other things, which were bold-faced lies. They never made the case as to why you should have elective abortions on demand up until 9 months. They never made that case. They were focusing on running commercials that were lying about what we were doing in Florida. So this was difficult because, you know, people see it on TV and they think it's true. So this was all hands on deck. So we decided we had no choice but to dig in and lead, that we had all these lives that depended on this. So we raised millions of dollars. We mobilized activists, not just in the state of Florida, but around the country to come and help in Florida. Many of you were part of that. We pressured our elected officials to get involved. We barnstormed the state. I had physicians against Amendment 4. We had survivors of abortion talking against Amendment 4. You name it, we did it. We even mobilized our state agencies, and we ran public service announcements dispelling the lies that were being told about Florida's heartbeat bill. But we were doing this, quite frankly, against the tide of public opinion. The wind was in our face. The wind was not in our backs. But you know, it's easy to lead when the wind's at your back. Anybody can do that. The question is, when those things are, when you have all the odds stacked against you, are you going to dig in and are you going to do what's right? And I'm proud to say that we defeated this radical pro-abortion amendment. And we were the first state in the United States to ever defeat one. But here's one of the lessons. We were told since Dobbs by people, political consultants, pundits, many people that are more establishment Republicans, that standing for the right to life was somehow terrible politics, you wouldn't get elected, all this other stuff. Well, I can tell you, I'm proof that that's not true. Because when Dobbs was overturned, I ran on a pro-life platform on the Heartbeat Protection Act, and I won the largest victory that any Republican has ever won in the history of the state of Florida. And I can report to you now, years later, not one single member of the Florida legislature has been defeated for voting for Florida's Heartbeat Protection Act. Not one has been defeated as a result of that. And even more so, to show you the politics isn't what they say, since I signed Florida's heartbeat bill a couple years ago, we have gained 800,000 registered Republicans on the Democrats since we signed the legislation. So don't let the naysayers say that you got to toss away these important convictions and that you shouldn't stand for the right to life. We showed how it can be done in the state of Florida. You know, we're proud that in the last 6 years since I've been governor, on issue after issue, we have defeated the political left. getting rid of DEI, beating them on illegal immigration, doing all these different things to the point where Florida is now known as the state where woke goes to die. But let me tell you, since we were able to beat Amendment 4, Florida is not only the place where woke goes to die, it's the place where babies go to live. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you for making the trip. It really is a great encouragement to all of us to see all of you, so many pro-life Americans here to stand and march for the sanctity of human life. I stand here with these colleagues of mine, these leaders for life, and it means so much to us to see all of you. For 52 years, this event has united millions of pro-life Americans just like us for the common purpose that we believe that every child has the right to life. For 2 decades, before I was elected to Congress, I served as a constitutional law attorney, and I litigated cases to defend our fundamental freedoms like religious liberty and the sanctity of human life. And now in this role that I have as Speaker of the House, I'm working to defend those freedoms in a different way. And the good news is there are many leaders here in Congress, just like the ones standing behind us here, who are committed to doing that same thing. And of course, my friends, it is a new golden age in America, and now we have President Donald J. Trump back in the White House. We are entering a new era, that's right. And with Vice President J.D. Vance, they have already, that's right. This new White House has already shown its resolve. It's one of his first official acts. President Trump just freed and pardoned nearly 24 wrongfully imprisoned pro-life activists. And I don't know if you saw his executive order on gender, but it defines life as beginning at conception rather than birth. And in Congress just yesterday, the House passed the Born Alive Survivors Protection Act. It is a matter, that's right, it's a matter of basic humanity to ensure that a child who survives an abortion attempt should be cared for as he or she is lying on the table gasping for breath. But I am so sad to tell you that only one House Democrat joined us in voting for that bill. It's incredible, really, but it demonstrates just how important events like this today are. My friends, House and Senate Republicans are committed to protecting innocent life. We will do it. As we near the 250th anniversary of our great nation, we remember that at the heart of our grand experiment in self-governance is the recognition of the right to life, as Leader Thune just said. America is premised on the self-evident truth that every single person is made in the image of our Creator, God, and thus every single person has inestimable dignity and value. And your value is not related in any way to the color of your skin or what zip code you live in or what you do for a living. Your value is inherent, that is given to you by God. Well, that's right. What we need today is a new generation of leaders and activists like William Wilberforce and Frederick Douglass, men and women who will courageously use their voices to defend others. You, my friends, are part of that generation, and together we are rebuilding a culture of life, and it begins now. By sharing your time and influence, by volunteering to assist pregnancy resource centers, all the very practical ways that we can assist, using our voices, using our influence, it's going to make a difference. I'll close with this. I was born in January 1972. It was almost exactly 1 year before Roe v. Wade became the law of the land. I was the product of an unplanned teen pregnancy, and I am so eternally grateful that my mom and dad ignored all the people who told them to just take care of that problem, and they chose to embrace life and to have me, the first of their 4 children. If they... It's a simple fact, a very simple fact. If they had not done that, then I would not be here. And I often wonder who else we have missed and what those individuals might have contributed to our society and our world, but they were just never given the opportunity. I often wonder when we as a nation will face that reality and turn our hearts back to the self-evident truths that we boldly proclaimed in our nation's birth certificate in 1776, as was said earlier, that all people are created equal and that all people are endowed by our Creator with the right to life. Let's keep working to ensure that more eyes are opened, that more people will embrace those timeless truths, and that all children will be allowed the incomparable gift of being born. Thank you for being part of this movement and this noble cause. God bless this march, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.